The sudden surge of very ugly anti-Semitism, it must be incredibly challenging for you personally.
Look, it has been. I think there's no one in our community, in the Jewish community in Australia, that doesn't have a sense of post-traumatic stress disorder. In fact,
that's a very big thing to say.
It is. And in fact, as I said to one of the communal leaders recently, I was relaying this story to her and she said, no, Julian, there's nothing post about it because it's ongoing, because it's every day. I think there are some people in the Australian community that think when a synagogue's being firebombed, when a childcare centre is firebombed, when a cafe is firebombed, when cars are firebombed, that's anti-Semitism. And when that's not happening, everything's good. But the truth is, even before October 7, there had been, for the last few years, a growing amount of anti-Semitism in the community. And it was anti-Semitism that took effectively three forms. There was anti-Semitism of the far right, which was a sort of a white power, whites only Australia, where we don't want to have Jews there because we don't see them as white. There was a far left anti-Semitism that we've seen increasingly since October 7, which is this anti-Semitism directed at Jews and at Israel, but particularly at Jewish Australians, because of effectively trying to blame Jewish Australians and attack Jewish Australians because of the state of Israel. And then there's a third group, which is what I'd call Islamist anti-Semitism, that doesn't like Jews also because of the state of Israel. And all of that had been rising before October 7, and then October 7, it lit a fuse. And I think Jewish Australians have had our foundations rocked here about what it meant to live in this country and what this country's all been about. And I suppose I've spent the last couple of years really focused on trying to fight back against that and trying to push our government to do better to protect law-abiding people, because law-abiding people, whoever they are, deserve the full protection of the law.
The political response has been extraordinarily varied on the ground in this country. I can see premiers, Labor premiers, who behaved with decency and honour, notwithstanding perhaps a couple of slip-ups.
Yeah.
I can see others in the federal realm who, frankly, I wonder how they can sleep with their consciences at night.
Well, I agree with you, John. I think it's worthwhile starting with Chris Minns, the Labor Premier of New South Wales, and I want to call him out for special praise. He hasn't been perfect. Those attacks that occurred at the Opera House with the protests where Jewish people were told not to come to the city and the police actually escorted protests to the Opera House where they lit flares and burnt flags and said whether it was gas the Jews or we're the Jews, they weren't asking Jewish people to a concert.
Can I hate interrupting?
Go ahead.
This little business about whether it was gas the Jews or where's the Jews, it's a pretty fine point. Where's the Jews is what the Nazis said when they arrived in a Paris or a Warsaw or whatever and wanted to find the Jews to put them into the concentration camps. There's not much difference.
As I say, that they were not wanting to take Jews to a concert at the Opera House. They were wanting to do them harm. It's very clear.
I thought that was a very poor reflection on certain of our authorities in this country, that they went to great pains to say, it wasn't gas the Jews, it was only where's.
Yeah.
There's no effective difference for anyone who knows their history.
That's exactly right. This was an attack on Jewish Australians. And people forget, this was before Israel had launched its offensive in Gaza at all. And you remember, the day before that, in Western Sydney, hate preachers talking about this being a day of elation,
tears
a
of
day
joy.
they've been waiting for. This was a day of celebration for some people.